Hey, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another video. This time we're going to do another episode of the strategy series where I talk to you guys about cards that counter Super Shenron. So I did mention in my video yesterday that these strategies are kind of far few and in between. They're also not foolproof. Sadly enough, Super Shenron does have counters to these cards, and I'll talk about that. But yeah, this is the best we have right now if you really want to combat the deck. And there are a few ways to do it. You know, it is borderline, you know, I'll say it, tier 0. It's borderline right there, but there are ways to combat it. And yeah, I know a lot of the great minds in the game are working on building decks to do that as we speak. So before we get into this video, guys, if you're new to the channel, definitely hit the subscribe button. Make sure you stay up to date with awesome Dragon Ball Super content we post here by hitting the subscribe the notification bell, sorry. And if you guys are looking for an awesome community of Dragon Ball players, check out the Discord server in the description below. And finally, guys, if you're longtime fans of the channel, want to help me out or want to read up on some competitive content, check out the Patreon in the description below. It's actually really important that you do that today because I did post a article talking specifically about the Super Shenron matchup. I go really in depth on that. You know, this is just gonna be a tech video where I talk about the tech options and how to beat it, but in that video I go more into like playstyle choices and deck choices you can grab to combat the deck. So I think this video is going to complement that really well, because in the article I go more into playstyle. In this I go more into the tech options, so definitely check that out. But here we go, guys, we're gonna get into this video. So you're gonna notice first thing off the bat is that I do have the Kid Goku leader here. And in my opinion, he's the best leader right now that can combat Super Shenron for a few reasons. So back when Storm, you know, was really the top dog of the deck, like I'm talking full power Storm with Rudigarn and all that good stuff, Hercule was the counter pick to that. Hercule was the anti-Storm deck. And you know, you might think that that's like a valid option right now, and it could be. But the issue with that becomes Tien. Tien's a card that, you know, it also affects red leaders, believe it or not. You know, most people just see Tien and assume Janemba and like blue untapping decks, but it also hits red leaders, so that prevents Hercule from senzu beating, it prevents Hercule from Zeno buttoning, so that causes Hercule a real big problem. This leader, one of the reasons I think it's got a great shot to beat Super Shenron is because it is a black leader, so it's not affected by Tien in the same way. And you have the insane amount of card draw that the leader gets. So I mean, we saw back in Chicago, you know, in the top cut and in the finals, you know, this deck just draws a crazy amount of cards, and we did see this deck on stream versus Super Shenron. And yeah, I mean, the best thing about this deck is that it has one of the better opportunities to draw a crap ton of cards and then, you know, hopefully survive the kill shot. And what I mean by survive the kill shot is you really can't afford to get put down to 2 life as, you know, the opponent of Super Shenron, because Mira Champa bad ring combo is just gonna kill you. You know, no amount of senzu beans, no amount of hand parity is going to stop a Mira for the most part. So you really need to try your best to stay at 3 life as long as physically possible. And I think the Son Goku leader has the best shot to do that, because you can play either the blue or black build. So you have access to senzu bean in the blue build, you have access to Nimbus in the yellow build, and then overall, you know, you draw a card every single turn, you have a Dragon Ball, and then you have the 10k vanilla combo. And then the really relevant thing about that is that when they skip your turn and they go to their next turn right afterward, your once per turn effect to 10k combo vanilla resets, right? So you do have, you know, some extra free combo power there. And then you know, once you're on the backside, you're just drawing 2 and ditching 1, and if you have the Kid Goku on the board, you turn that into basically just a draw 2, because the Goku gets back the ball has extra combo power. You guys get the point. The deck and the leader and all the cards in the deck just help you turbo through the deck, and it gets you a big hand size to hopefully out combo that Super Shenron kill turn. So whether it be senzu bean or Nimbus, those are going to be obviously 2 of the best cards to help you with that, and those are in the list here as well. I'll talk about those a little bit more when we get to them directly. So we'll go into just, you know, kind of this list. If you guys think of any more, please let me know. I know this is a bit of a shorter list, but to be honest, I didn't want to include too many things that that Super Shenron could hard counter. But yeah, if you guys have any other cards, let me know. I mean, I know Mafuba might be a decent one because of the Height of Mastery Victory Strike build, but of course, you know, Battering Laser is a card, which I'll talk about when we get to the negates anyway. But yeah, Kami Global Unifier. So Super Shenron goes super duper wide, except for the height Victory Strike build. You know, you have the blue yellow build, you have the Storm build. They go super wide. Now, Kami is more of a card that will help you get back in the game if you survive the kill turn for the most part. You know, you might catch Super Shenron slipping, and they might not go off on the correct turn, or they might not have the tools to go off on the right turn, but the board might be really wide. So Kami can come in and help in that situation. But yeah, Kami is a better card for like if you're playing a slower deck and you do happen to survive the kill turn, you can Kami their board. They basically don't have any threats. They can't free Child's Wish anymore because their leader's, you know, turned over again. And that's a card you could consider there. Definitely not the first option, but something to consider depending on what your deck kind of does. Then we have Dark Power Black Mass Sand. This is a card that is actually really good against the deck, but as you see right next to it, you have Crisis Crusher, which, you know, is really annoying. It's really annoying how easily Super Shenron can hard counter its own counters. But you know, I'm gonna talk to you a little bit about how to counter that for the most part. You know, it gets really in depth. So the 1-drop Black Mass Sand is a really good card because it means they can't spam Preface of Recovery, they can't spam Bulma without discarding 2 cards, right? You know, they do have the Crisis Crusher answer to this, but I'm gonna give you a little bit of a situation where you can kind of play around Crisis Crusher. So here we go. Let's say you go first, right? You can be playing whatever deck you want because Dark Power Black Mass Sand is splashable in any deck. So let's say you go first and you have 2 Black Mass Sands in your hand, right? Let's just say you have 2 of them, and you go first. You don't play the Dark Power Black Mass Sand on turn 1. You don't do it. Why? Because if your opponent goes to their turn 1 on the next turn, they Crisis Crusher, they pop it. It was literally a waste of a play, right? So now let's say you don't play anything turn 1. You go to their turn 1. They play Crisis. You go to your turn 2, and you play both of the Dark Power Black Mass Sands. Now, risky thing is you tapped out for this play, but on the other hand, you still have 8 life, and your opponent can't really cast another Crisis Crusher unless they Child's Wish it, or unless they Awaken turn 2 and then free Child's Wish it, which neither of those situations are very good for your opponent because they've used their leader ulti. Oh, sorry, not the leader ulti, but the leader free wish effect, and they have 2 Crisis Crushers sitting on the board, right? And the nice thing is, most of the time that's not going to happen. They're only going to have the 1 Crisis on the board, because once they play the 1, they start to combo the other ones, or they charge the other ones. So realistically, they're only going to have 1 Crisis on the board when you have 2 Dark Powers on the board. The thing with that is they can only pop 1 of the Mass Sands per turn, meaning that, you know, that other Mass Sand is still going to hinder their strategy. They can't, you know, Bulma loop on that turn without discarding a ton of cards. So that's like the way I would kind of do it. You know, there's different ways to do it for sure, different reasoning for different methods. Let me know if you guys have a different way to do it down below. But that's kind of the way that I've thought it through. So it seems like a really good sideboard in that instance. And then Crisis Crusher, I do have this as a counter to Super Shenron. It's not the best counter by any means, but it does help, especially the blue-yellow version. They're really big on the 1-drop crit attacking Krillin, and this card halts that. You know, they really want to go, sometimes they want to go real tall on those double strike crit attacks with the Krillins. So yeah, I mean, this card prevents that, right? And then you have, you know, the ability to pop the Krillins. You kind of stave off some of the aggro, so it can be helpful in certain situations, especially if your deck draws a whole lot and doesn't have a better turn 1 play. Let's just say Crisis can be a good card to consider for sure. Then we have New Firepower Purunga. I think this is your best bet if you're playing like a fair Super Shenron deck. Let's say those exist, and then if you're playing like regular Shenron leader or Purunga, you know, this might be your best bet. It's the same idea as Kami, right? You know, it's probably only good if you go on the play, but it is another way to, you know, wipe their entire board. The nice thing about Purunga is that all their battle cards go back to the deck. So like their Bulmas go back to the deck, and then they can't, you know, necessarily immediately start recycling them. So you know, that's something cool to note there. Then we have Senzu Bean. Senzu Bean and Nimbus are definitely the 2 best cards on this list, in my opinion. Senzu Bean probably being the best one because you don't have the ability to get battering lasered, which is really nice. If you are playing down the height Victory Check version and they tap you out, you can always hold your leader Awaken until they drop the height, and then Awaken, you have access to Bean right then and there. So the way I like to play with Bean is like I want to save all my Beans for the skip turn, you know, the skip turn being their second turn after they ulti. And you know, sometimes it's not totally realistic. Sometimes you do need to use the Bean on the first turn to try and survive. Like I said, you need to stay at least at 3 life. But if you can stay at 3 life and make it to the skip turn and you double or triple Bean, it's gonna be really hard for your Super Shenron opponent to push damage through, because they're gonna have to neg a whole ton of cards in order to do that. So there's just that 2 cents. I'll skip a little bit ahead because I do have Infernal Villainy Cell and Unbreakable here. You know, just to get value off that untapped energy and just have better defensive combo that will still draw you cards, because, you know, the important thing is, you know, comboing and maintaining hand parity so you can keep comboing, because they're going to get a whole ton of attacks on you in those 2 turns. So there are those 2 cards. And another card I just thought about, actually, I thought about it over the past few days, is Godstrike Beerus. So this is a card that's a little bit more high risk, high reward kind of thing, right? But you can, you know, you can go down to that 2 life. You can bait them into mirror chomping you, and as long as they only drop 1 Champa on it, you can God Strike the double strike away, and they might have dumped their entire hand, their entire field into that attack. And you know, hopefully you go back to your next turn and they're defenseless and you kill them. But that's a little bit of a risky play, because some better players might see it coming. You know, if you just willy-nilly take life and go down to 2, they might suspect something, right? And honestly, if they just overwhelm a mirror out and they attack you and put a Champa on it and don't combo anything into it, that's probably still going to demand a double strike, a Godstrike Beerus. So you have to be really, really good at baiting the opponent into that play. So just something to consider, something to note. Then we do have Borgos and the Whis that complements the Borgos. And there's also the Red Veku, although the Red Veku's really not going to be dropped unless you're playing the Gogeta deck. But yeah, so these cards really do halt the strategy as well, because they're, you know, the Bulmas and the Prefaces, they do want to have energy offensively, so you could punish them for that. However, like I said, Crisis Crusher is a card, but the thing is, like, you want to try and drop this when they have somewhat of a board established. Like, as bad as it sounds, like let's say they go first, they don't really do much, you go first, and then you could drop the Borgos there, but you could they could drop the Crisis Crusher at any time after that, right? But if they already have a board established, like on their turn 2, let's say they've done some Bulma looping and whatnot, if you drop the Borgos on the following turn and still have access to blue energy for like Senzu Bean, that could kind of hold their plays. You know, they might have to like free wish out a Crisis Crusher. Honestly, they might even just play into the Borgos and let you pop one of the energies if they're really confident in their ability to go off. But you know, that's all situational, all contextual. I would wait to drop the Borgos or Whis until after, you know, they've already made a board so that they can't immediately crisis you, but that's just my opinion. Then we have Striving. Striving is only good against the Storm build, to be honest with you guys, and even then it's not that great. The blue yellow build doesn't care about it. The height build definitely does not care about this card at all. You know, the blue yellow build, all their attackers are 3-drops, doesn't matter. The Storm build does kind of not like this card, but all the Super Shenron decks can side in Harmonic Vegeta, which is a free Child's Wish target, and it decreases anything ignoring barrier minus 10k, so that kind of deals with this card right then and there, which is kind of unfortunate. Then we have the string of red negates. So we got After Image. After Image I would only really recommend against the height Victory Strike build, because you can actually counter Victory Strike with it and get a big combo and get a neg off of it, which is nice. Is that all you got? Is decent against like the Storm build or the blue yellow build, although unfortunately it doesn't hit Preface, but that's okay. And then you have also Unending Awakening is decent if you're playing like Pan or Baby Vegeta, because you get that Senzu Bean-esque effect. You know, you don't get to untap energy like Senzu Bean allows you to do, but if you play conservatively, if you play with all your energy up and you hold your leader awakened for defense, you know, that can actually be pretty clutch coming up, so something to keep in mind for sure. Then we have we'll skip over Battering for a second. We've got Nimbus. It is one of the better cards to stop their turn. One of the best ways to use this card is going to be after their skip turn, especially if you see a Battering Laser in their drop area. A lot of lists only play one Battering Laser, so you can, you know, try and hedge your bets against that. You could Flying Nimbus on the first turn when they don't necessarily have energy to battering you, but the issue there is they might play conservatively and they might just not ulti that turn. You really want to bait them into ultiing and then Flying Nimbus them on the following turn, so that you can basically make their ulti you know, null and void essentially. And then I have Battering Laser on here as well, because obviously Battering can counter Battering, which is, you know, which would be really good for you, especially if you're trying to Nimbus them. Although that would be a pretty fat neg of cards. You know, you'd be losing 4 cards from your hand, which is pretty big after you probably lost a ton of cards already from comboing out other things. Time Magic, decent against the height build if your leader is yellow. Not too great against any other aspect of the deck. So I mean, guys, those are the cards that I have here listed to kind of help you counter the Super Shenron matchup. I can't really think of too much else, unfortunately. You know, I've heard some stuff like Chain Attack into Tien, which again is just like Chain Attack into Veku, which like both aren't optimal plays, especially because like you can't just leave the 1-drop Trunks out there reliably, because it probably will get Crisis Crusher pops, which is unfortunate. But yeah, guys, this is the best I've come up with so far. If you guys have any better ideas, drop them in the comments below. I want to help you guys combat this format. I trust that Bandai will do something about this deck soon. They've been very reliable with that in the past. So yeah, guys, like I said, let me know if you have any better ideas. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Hey guys, now that you made it this far, listen good, listen close. In this pile of bulk behind me, I've got a Victory Strike just sitting there, unsleeved. Just minding its own business, just wants to be played, just wants to be used, just wants to, you know, cheese people out of wins. And I swear, if you don't hit the subscribe button or check out some of our other videos right now before clicking off this video, I'm gonna rip it to shreds, I'm gonna tear it up, I'm gonna waste $500 if you guys don't hit the subscribe button or check out some of our other videos. I swear, I'll do it, I really will.